Hello, Strat O Matic and tabletop sports fans. This is Tribe Fan giving the penultimate update on my 1967 New York Mets Super Advanced Replay. Update will cover the final 7 home games of the Mets season. The first 3 were against the Dodgers, and the last 4 were against the Houston Astros. And we'll get started with Game 1 of this series, which was Game 149, John Duffy versus Tom Seaver. In the top of the 4th, John Roseboro goes to 3rd on a Ron Swoboda gaff, and then he scores on a Wes Parker single to make it 1-0 Dodgers. The Dodgers would make it 2-0 after a Len Gabrielson double put runners on 2nd and 3rd. Nate Oliver scored 2 runs with his single, and the Dodgers go up 3-0. Mets wouldn't get started scoring until the bottom half of the 7th when Bob Heisey with a leadoff single. He would score when Tommy Davis hits the ball to Ron Hunt. They rule it a single, and then Hunt throws the ball into the stands for two more bases. They put the Mets on the board down 3-1. The Mets would cut the deficit to 1 when Ron Swoboda followed with an RBI single. And then Ed Kranepool triples home Swoboda to tie the game at 3. The game would remain tied through the 8th and the 9th, and we're going to extras. The Mets had their chances in the 10th when a leadoff double by Ken Boswell, and then he moved to 3rd on a sacrifice, but Jerry Grody grounded to the 3rd baseman, and going on contact, Boswell was thrown out. And in the 11th, Bob Heisey with a 1-out double, but does not score. Finally, we go to the 14th inning with Don Shaw pitching, future manager Jim Lefevre pinch hitting, leads off with a single. He goes to 2nd on a Nate Oliver sacrifice bunt. He moves to 3rd on a fly ball. And then with 2 outs, Willie Davis singles home Lefevre to make it 4-3. Ron Perinoski with the scoreless 14th gives the Dodgers a 4-3 win. Phil Regan pitches 3 innings leading up to get the W. In game 150, it is Bill Singer versus Les Rohr, and the Dodgers jump out real early. A leadoff walk to Davis. He goes a 3rd on a Ron Hunt single, and then Al Ferrara singles home Davis to make it 1-0 Dodgers. And the second run would score when Luis Alcaraz beats out a grounder to save him from the double play, and the Dodgers go up 2-0, and that would be it after 1. We go to the bottom half of the 4th when Ken Boswell walks, and he goes to 2nd on a pass ball. And then Amos Otis singles Boswell to 3rd. Les Rohr would then single to put the Mets on the board, trailing 2-1. And then Bud Harrelson follows with a single to tie the game at 2. In the top half of the 5th, the Astros answer right back, a 1-out triple by Davis. And then Ron Hunt follows with a RBI single to make it 3-2. After a walk and a ground out, Wes Parker would make it 4-2 Dodgers. Luis Alcaraz would single in the top half of the 8th, and he goes 2nd on a wild pitch and 3rd on a ground out. And Tommy Dean singles to make it 5-2 Dodgers, and the Dodgers think they're sitting pretty. But the Mets say, not so fast, my friends. We play baseball here too. And then in the bottom of the 8th, with Amos Otis on first after a fielder's choice, Jerry Grody smacks his 5th home run of the year to make it 5-4. And then in the bottom of the 9th, with Perinoski pitching, Ron Swoboda hits the ball real far, and Mets fans are excited, and we're going to extras, tied at 5. And this game would go to the top of the 14th as well, with Jack Fisher pitching this time. Al Ferrara leads off, and he hits the ball real hard to make it 6-5. And then Phil Regan picks up his 14th save of the season, pitching a scoreless 14th. And then Jim Brewer pitches the 3 innings before that to get the win. The final game of the series thankfully went the regulation 9 innings. In the top of the 2nd, John Roseboro used his bat to hit the ball instead of trying to hit a pitcher. And his home run puts the Dodgers up 1-0. Len Gabrielson would follow with a single Luis Alcaraz singles him to third, and then Tommy Dean with a deep fly ball, not quite out of the park, but enough to score a run, make it 2-0. In the bottom half of the second, the Mets answer right back. A one-out single by Cranepool, and then Ken Boswell doubles Cranepool to third, and then Amos Otis singles home 2 runs to tie the game at 2. The Mets would take the lead in the bottom half of the fourth when Ed Cranepool hits his 11th home run of the year to make it 3-2 Mets. In the top half of the eighth, Lou Johnson, who came on in a double switch, led off with a walk. He goes to second on a sacrifice bunt. Hunt walks to put runners on first and second, and then with 2 outs, Al Ferrara, it is high, it is far, and it is gone. A 3-run home run to make it 5-3. The Mets would try to claw back in the bottom half of the eighth. Heisey with a leadoff single. He goes a third on a Tommy Davis single. He scores on a Ron Swoboda single. However, a strikeout and a 3-6-3 double play ends the inning, and any chances the Mets have. Bob Miller pitches a scoreless ninth for the save. Drysdale gets the win, going 7 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. All right, and now the Houston Astros come to town. And in game 152, Mike Cuellar faces Jerry Koosman. In the top half of the fourth, Doug Rader was plunked. He goes to second on a pass ball. Staub and Aspromonte would walk to load the bases, and then Ron Brand legs out a ground ball from being a double play and makes it 1-0. In the bottom half of the eighth, the Mets would finally get going. Bob Johnson pinch hits for Koosman, he doubles. He would come home on a Bud Harrelson single. 2 batters later, Harrelson would go to third on a Tommy Davis single, but once again, on the contact play, Swoboda grounds at the third, and they get Harrelson in a rundown, and he gets tagged out at the plate. However, the Mets do tie it, and then we would almost not go to extra innings. The Mets had second and third with 1 out. Actually, nobody out. Ground out to shortstop, held all the runners at third, and with the infield and the outfield in, a shallow fly ball to right, and with Staub's great arm, they were not going to run on him, and then the inning ended with a ground out and a wasted opportunity to win in regulation. So we go to the top half of the 10th, and given new life from not escaping that, the Astros score off of Don Cardwell. After a ground out to start the inning, Ron Davis walked. Sonny Jackson followed with a single. Jimmy Wynn singled to load the bases. After an infield ground out where they got Davis at the plate, and they reloaded the bases. Rusty Staub singles to make it 3-1 Astros. Dave Eilers pitched the 10th inning for the save. Larry Sherry got the win. Another heartbreaking loss for the Mets. In game 153, it was Wade Blasingame versus Tug McGraw. In the top half of the third, a leadoff single by Julio Gotay. He goes to second on a ground out and scores on a Doug Rader single. In the top half of the fourth, the first 2 batters walk and then move up a base, each move up a base on a wild pitch. And then Blasingame lays down the safety squeeze, and Aspromonte scores to make it 2-0. In the top of the fifth, Lee Bales with the leadoff walk, and he scores on a 2-out double by Rusty Staub. The Mets would finally get on the board in the 6th inning. Cranepool doubles. He goes to third on a Bob Johnson singles and scores on a Tommy Davis single. And then they make it 3-1. In the bottom of the 7th, Grody walked. Larry Stahl singled and with an error puts runners on second and third. Otis walked to loaded the bases. Then Cranepool flies out deep to score a run to make it 3-2. However, Bob Johnson, he walked to reload the bases, and then Tommy Davis hit to do a double play, and that would be the closest the Mets would get. Blasingame, however you want to pronounce it, goes 5 innings for the win. Danny Schneider pitches the 9th for the save, and Tug McGraw goes 5 innings in a loss. In game 154, it was Dave Giusti against Tom Seaver. The Mets would actually get on the lead first. Jerry Buchik with a one-out solo home run, his 15th of the year, put the Mets up 1-0. In the bottom of the fourth, Ron Swoboda wanted to get on the home run parade, so he hits a two-out solo home run, his 9th of the year, and the Mets go up 2-0. Hal King would lead off with a single. A two-out walk to Sonny Jackson put runners on first and second, and then Lee Bales with an RBI single cuts the lead in half, and the Mets are up 2-1. And then Seaver runs out of gas in the 8th. A one-out double by Aspromonte, and then Hal King, who went 3 for 3 on the day with a walk, singles home Aspromonte to tie the game, and then Ron Davis puts on the coup de grace, a 2-run homer, putting the Astros up 4-2. The bottom of the ninth, the Mets would get 3 straight singles and then played a third run on a fielder's choice to make it 4-3. However, 2 straight strikeouts end the game, and the Astros win 4-3. Seaver would go 8 innings, win the loss, giving up 8 hits, 4 runs, walking 7. That would be the almost bane of his existence. And then struck out 3. Giusti goes 8 innings for the win, and then Larry Sherry, won a World Series MVP, gets the save. And then in game 155, the Mets, beaten down by so many one-run defeats, just get walloped. It's a bad day when Chris Zachary, the Astros pitcher who goes up against Les Rohr, has more RBIs than the Mets do total. We'll get to the gory details here. In the top of the first, Julio Gotay walks, and then Sonny Jackson triples to put the Astros up 1-0. The Astros bat around in the third. Zachary hits a 2-run triple for the final runs of the inning to put the Astros up 6-0. The roar was silenced after that. 3 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 3 walks, and no strikeouts. The Mets get a modicum of, just, hey, thank you for showing up. Heisey pinch hit, 2-out double. Otis follows with an RBI double. And then after Aspromonte's error puts Otis on third, Ron Swoboda with the base hit, and it's 6-2. The Mets put this out of reach in the top of the 5th, batting around again. Zachary with his 3rd RBI and a sac fly. Julio Gotay with a 2-run homer, and Rusty Staub with a 2-run homer. Makes it 12-2, and that's about all I'll get into that game. Zachary with a complete game, 5-hitter, walking 1 and striking out 7. And the Mets are now on a 14-game losing streak. And their record is now 54-101, putting them ahead of the loss total that they had in the real regular season. So unfortunately, this will be a little bit off from what this is. Now, I may end up putting a couple of these scorecards up on the Tabletop Baseball Plus Facebook page for the 14-inning game and the 10-inning game, just so you guys can kind of see what happened. And that's all I have here, except for the next 7 games are 3. There's a series against the Giants and then a series against the Dodgers, and that's it for this replay here. All right, everybody, that's all I have from here. Hope you guys enjoy playing your games, whatever you play, and may your dice be lively and your rolls be good.